Hello everyone and welcome to my review of the Razer Ice Cube Form, a green silicone form for ice cubes. It's a pretty expensive one at 180 euros, but I think it's really worth the money because you get 4 cubes, so price per cube is actually quite okay at 45 euros. We're going to put it in some water or in another drink and see how it cools our drink. Taking it out is actually pretty simple. You just push it out from the bottom and then you have a nice Razer logo. It's actually textured and everything, so that's pretty cool. So let's just put it in our drink. Oh, it's the wrong way around, great. And see if it cools down. Now I have to say, because it's a really weird shape, unlike a cube, there's a lot of surface area for the volume of the thing. So it does cool down your drink really quickly, but that also means that, it melts pretty quickly. So I guess time for a conclusion. 180 euros for these ice cube form thingies is 45 a cube per, well, if you only use it once. I mean, you are going to use it multiple times. So excellent value for money. And you also get a Razer Blackwidow Chroma keyboard with it. So guys, if you like this video, press the like button. If you didn't like the video, dislike it, share it, leave a comment, and thank you very much for watching. Alright, so obviously the whole ice cubes thing was a bit of a joke. It's mostly about this Razer Blackwidow Chroma keyboard that I'm going to talk a bit today. So as you can see, it's a fully RGB keyboard and it uses Razer's own key switches. So these are the Razer green keycaps, so key switches. They use the same keycaps as Sherry MX keyboards, so that's really nice. Obviously Razer had to make their own key switches, like Logitech also had to do, because Corsair has the exclusivity deal with Sherry going on, and they seem to be good buddies there with the new exclusivity deal on the MX silent switches. So Razer had to make their own, and I actually quite like them a lot. There's less travel to them, but there's still the same nice tactile bump to these switches that there was in the previous one. As you can hear, they don't quite sound like MX Blues. They are a tiny bit lower in tone than the MX Blues, but they feel the same. They're just, because there's less travel to them, it makes them a bit faster for gaming, but it also means you have a tiny little bit less tactile feedback during typing, for example, or when you're really not looking and you're just doing something. So I do bottom these out a bit more than I did with my MX Blues, but it's slightly different. It was to be expected. I still prefer the MX Blues. These are at 99% of the awesomeness of the Blues. Anyway, we get 5 macro keys here, but every single key is programmable, as I'll show in the software later on. We have a function modifier for all our multimedia keys, and we also have a gaming mode. The gaming mode you can use to disable the Windows button, but you can also disable Alt-Tab and Alt-F4 with that. You can also use it to adjust brightness, but only, and this is pretty annoying, you can only do it to static colors when you're not in a profile. So that's a bit annoying there. We also have a sleep button, obviously. As you can see, this is an AZERTY French layout. Don't ask me why my country uses them. I just have to use AZERTY for school stuff because I, get quoted on how fast I can type with my eyes closed, really. So yeah, let's move on to the software, because the keyboard itself, the physical overview, is pretty damn cool, except for the I/O. This keyboard does have I/O. Right here you have a USB port, microphone, and a headphone port, and it's on the wrong side. Razer should really put it on the top or on the left side, because and you have a limited room there, and because it's already quite wide, this keyboard, your mouse will run into these connectors right there. Alright, so let's do a quick overview of the software. So this is basically the first screen. You can see your devices in the bottom left side, or they go all the way to the right if you buy a bunch of Razer products. I only have a Blackwidow Chroma and a Razer Siren at the moment. I might add one of those Mamba Chroma mice later on. So basically for each button you can select a bunch of things. So if you want the A to be, turn the volume up or down, you can do that. You can also set it to whatever macro key you want. You can toggle how many times it has to play, if it has to be a continuous loop or whatever. You can also record macros straight into this thing, with or without a delay, but there is a dedicated macro tab, which I'll show you guys later. Now, there are different profiles, as you can see. So you have a bunch of profiles, and per profile you can set up a different lighting effect. You have to go into the Chroma configurator to do the more interesting stuff, except for, brightness or the basic effects really. And in this Chroma configurator, you can select what color each key is, or how the key reacts to being pushed by, for example, a reactive effect, a ripple effect. I prefer like a nice wave going through the keyboard really slowly, a rainbow wave. But you can also set up, pretty much whatever you want. So just cycle through the spectrum. That's actually the standard mode. You can set up patterns, and then you have all these little keys, and per key you can set a different color in the pattern. And then as time moves on, it will go to the next one, a bit like, in your video editing software. The key points, it's pretty much the same. You can just add keys, you can remove them, you can set the angle, how fast it moves, you can set if it's split or not, so that the wave joins in the middle of the keyboard or separates from the middle of the keyboard. That's all really nice. You can even set it so that it never ends, it continuously ends on a button press, whatever. You can also start on a key press, for example, so you can really do the most extreme, complicated designs. I actually prefer the more simple ones, even the ones that come with it. For example, the League of Legends profile, really handy, except the tab for some reason is not lit, so I changed that to my own League of Legends profile, because you do use tab an awful lot more than the B or the P, for example. Now, as I said, there's also a gaming mode, and this gaming mode you can enable in the software or with the hotkey, function, and F10 does that, so you can select what it disables, what it doesn't disable really. Now, if you want to do more complicated macros, you have to go to the macro tab, and then you can select what delay you want between each keystroke. You can set a default delay, you can set basically whatever you want in there. Another big thing is stats. Now, this is not specific to this keyboard in any way, but it's just a nice thing to have, that you can, per session, per game, you can see how many times you push the button, for example, how many macros you used, how many keystrokes you have, and you can even see a heat map of that. It is maybe, completely pointless, but it's just cool to have and cool to show off. Alright, then let's do a conclusion on the Razer Blackwidow Chroma. I'm going to do a little bit of a negative first, the fact that it picks up fingerprints or crease marks or whatever. It just leaves marks really easily on both the keycaps and the chassis, which is all plastic. So yeah, other than that though, great keyboard. So it is fairly similar to MX Blues, but with slightly less treble. Makes it faster for gaming, but it also makes it less tactile. I mean, there's still a definite tactile bump, so it's not all linear switch at all. There's definitely like a bump going on. That's really nice, but I still prefer the MX Blues. I think they're like maybe 1 or 2% better, but great keyboard, this one. Prices, of course, yeah, it's a bit expensive, isn't it, for a keyboard, especially because it doesn't have the Sherry keys in them. But then, that's all Corsair's fault. Anyway, guys, if you liked the video, press that like button. If you didn't like the video, dislike it. You can share it, you can leave a comment, and you can also subscribe to Unicorn Reviews. You can even support me on Patreon, so massive thanks to John, who's been supporting me for a very long time. Big thanks, man, and couldn't make awesome looking videos without you. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching.